it comes at a very expensive cost. And that's the problem. I mean, someone mentioned earlier about life expectancy, in the black community, black men on average live, 7 years, less than black women. So you end up having this societal norm where, most nursing homes or skilled care facilities are filled with women,
Yep.
right? For that same thing. So it's hard to quantify the cost, but if you want to know what the cost is, go try to buy some life insurance. They'll tell you the cost because actuaries very, very rarely get it wrong.
Thanks.
So when you think about trying to put a title or an amount of money on what the cost of the internalized stress is, the health issues, the lost families, the broken relationships, I think we also have to be cognizant of the fact that it's okay to say I'm wrong, and it's okay to agree to disagree. Oftentimes, in a lot of friendships I have, I don't agree with a lot of things our friends do all the time. But we,
This one over here.
yeah, I mean that's a whole other session for itself. But I think that's the one thing we have to understand, that we all come from different backgrounds, different experiences, and we talked about it earlier, even before the show. My experience is not your experience. That doesn't mean that my experience is wrong and yours is right. And oftentimes, when it comes to mental health, we fail to reach out and connect with someone because your experience with mental health may be different than my experience, or my problem may be different than your problem. But at the end of the day, just having that outlet, and I am trying to develop healthy hobbies, right? To be able to have that outlet, to be able to, I can't play football at my age, right? So I can't put pads on and helmet on and go hit somebody. But you need some way to release that stress and some way to release that. Oftentimes people do that through hobbies or travel or certain engagements that you're a part of. And you have to make sure you're doing that in a way that's intentional. And that's the key. I mean, I don't think we can change it overnight, but I think we can make strides in the black community to be a more connected group of people. And we have our own kind of idiosyncrasies around discrimination, even within our own race and ethnic culture, that creates barriers versus tears down barriers. So at the end of the day, we should be working to tear down the barriers than we are to put up more roadblocks. We all have enough roadblocks in front of us. But culturally, I think as men, to really change the narrative going forward, we just have to be more open-minded. We have to be understanding that it's okay to express grief. It's okay to express disappointment. It's okay to say, I don't have all the answers. And I think we're getting there, but we're a long way from where we need to be, because we're innately taught that we're the breadwinner, we're the strong person. We have to have all these answers today, and really helping define or leaning on outside counsel is not something that is just mainstream in our culture.
Yeah, and one of the things I think we all share is, like, I think my faith has probably the major part in my mental and social development. Through me giving my life completely over to Christ, like, I'm able to forgive people that I never thought I'd be able to forgive. I'm able to move past situations that I didn't think I was able to. I'm not naturally a social person. Like, I would never get in front of a camera or from a group of people and say anything, because I know in the back of my mind half of these people are waiting for me to say something stupid so they can laugh, make fun of me.
Good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to Higher Definition Radio. Uh, as we were reminiscing in the background, year 17. And I am proud to say we've been doing this for year 17 because somebody thought we couldn't do this 17 years. We started at a radio station, and it carried on the vision to keep getting positive information out about positive people doing positive things and connecting people. And I think we're very successful at connecting people who otherwise may have never met or connected, whether that's church, business, personal life, that can enhance our life and our journey. I think we all need that. So I want to say thank you to the people who've been following us for 17 years, for the people that have watched and grown with us, and cried and laughed and loved at the same time from Higher Definition, because we talk about a lot of different things, and tonight's no different. A show led by Marlon on mental health and relationships. So I want to start us off by saying that. I want to start off by saying for Evan and Tia, both heal and get better. Life, as we getting a little bit closer, some of us to 50 or right at the edge of 50, is getting a little bit tougher for all of us. And them things that used to hurt a little bit have you laying in the bed now. I mean, that's real business that it's hard. But we're going to make this as light as possible. J Mac, how are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. I can't complain.
Oh, that's where we starting us off.
Man, I keep telling you, we're trying to take it
the
easy.
deed in the safe, right?
This is a positive show. I'm gonna be good tonight.
I appreciate that. Shout out to you. Shout out. I see Pastor C.T. Kirk. It's Black male educators. We must have 50% of the ones in South Carolina on this show watching right now, because there are not a lot of Black male educators. The numbers are very, very small. So
2%.
shout out. Go ahead.
No, 2% of Black classroom teachers are Black male.
Ooh. Shout out, Pastor C.T. Kirk. You got a pastor, you got a job, you got family. Don't find yourself laying in the hospital tomorrow trying to lift 300 pounds.
Good luck, CT. You got it.
And you're not 6 feet something, so that's a lot of weight on your frame, sir. Pastor C.T. Kirk, we're praying for you in the morning as you trying to lift 300 pounds. Shout out to you, sir. Dr. Keisha Keefe, how are you, ma'am?
I'm doing well. I am doing well. It's been a really good weekend.
We're thankful for you, Dr. Keefe. Mrs. Candace Moffitt, how are you, ma'am?
Doing pretty good. Listen, besides the pollen, I love to be outside.
That's what we're going with,
right?
You can't even wash your car now. You know.
Waste of time.
No, I've washed mine like 3 times this week.
Yeah, just let it go.
Yeah.
Like Frozen.
My Chevelle don't need washing that many times. My Chevelle is already yellow, so I'll keep riding.
Well, that big truck you got, Lamont, probably washed itself. So anyway.
Renata, another person's been rocking with us for quite a while. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us tonight. We appreciate everything that you provide from the comment section also. Mr. Davis, how are you, sir?
Doing well, sir. Looking forward to a great show. Like I said, I know this should be a hot topic tonight, probably stuff that, a lot of people can relate to, right? But definitely had a great week, and looking forward to ending the month strong, sir. Productive.
That sounds like work talk right there.
Yes, sir. I talk it every day.
I'll let you kick us off with our show topic, sir.
All right, tonight, and first and foremost, want to thank everybody for tuning in. Y'all know we love the comments, the feedback. So if there's anything that relates to you or any advice that you can give or any even personal stories that you may have, we love to hear them in the comment section. Like our page, Higher Definition. Want to thank our guest, the host, for coming on tonight. And if anybody's listening right now still, if you just joining, please share. We love for you to share this information. If you only take one thing away tonight, we'll be happy. But the show is talking about mental health and relationships. And mental health is a vital aspect of our overall well-being. Its influence on relationships is profound. In this show, we'll delve into the complexities of mental health within the context of relationships, exploring challenges, solutions, and personal stories. And once again, I told the panel tonight, even around these questions, even if it mentions male or female, even audience listening and my panel, if it's something that has to do with sister, brother, mama, daughter, whatever dynamic that is of a relationship, I love to hear those stories. So my first question in understanding mental health relationships, and I'll start with you, Ms. Moffitt. What does mental health mean to you, and how do you think it affects relationships?
So mental health, like you already beautifully defined, is really our whole entire being to me. It is, our thoughts, our behaviors, and how we, move throughout the day, how we move throughout different things, how we do our activities every single day. If your mental health is affected in a negative way, then it makes it difficult to begin to, you know, move throughout the day or go throughout the goals or work or have conversations. And so when it comes to mental health and relationships, that is a big topic because, you know, a lot of times we could be in a relationship, romantic or with a sister brother, and we're not checking in with ourselves. And so if we're not checking in with ourselves, it's difficult to then communicate to someone else, hey, I'm not feeling well today. I need to go rest or I need a break. And so I believe that our mental health is comprised of our thoughts and behaviors and our actions. And so really having a healthy balance of our mental health, doing the things that we love to do, checking in with ourselves, you know, making sure if you are a believer, making sure you tap into God so that you can pour into yourself. Because I think a lot of times we're just depleted. I'm gonna stop there because I feel a sermon coming on. But okay.
Well, I appreciate that feedback. And I'll go with you, Dr. Keith, and then J Mac and Lamont. Same question: what does mental health mean to you, and how do you think it affects relationships?
Well, it definitely is all that Candace has said for sure. And when it is healthy, you can see it show up in relationships. You can see the way that there's that sense of support, there's that sense of fulfillment for you, and the way that you interact and engage with other people. When there's struggles, of course, it can lead to a lot of things. It can lead to like communication difficulties. It can lead to being emotionally distant. It can lead to conflicts. You're angry, irritated, agitated, and you're kicking the dog and cussing out the cat when it is not stable. And so that mental health piece is important because the brain, it handles and manages everything. And to the degree that we don't necessarily realize all the time, because, you know, if you've known anyone who has dementia and if they've had a severe case of dementia and the stages become worsened, you understand how the mind, just how powerful it is because all of your bodily functions are driven by that. So it is important that we are pouring into our minds, that we are recharging, that we are renewing our minds daily, putting some good stuff in it and not all the junk, because it's the junk that creates the stress.
All right. J Mac, what you got in the safe, brother?
Yeah, you will put me behind two professionals. When I think of mental health, I kind of think along some same lines as physical health. Like when you say physical health is how is your physical body doing? Is it healthy? Is it strong? Is it fit? Is it functioning the way it should? Mental health is the same thing. How is your emotional state? How is your mental state? How are you handling the stresses of life? And are you able to function mentally the same way as your body functions physically? If you're healthy, you know, we was talking earlier about all that pollen outside. You might have to triple it, but it's not going to break you to the point you can't function. Mental health is the same thing. You know, how are you handling those stresses that come at you? How are you handling work and family and relationships and all that, and able to process and function and go forward? So mental health is culturally for us something I feel like we need to do a better job of taking care of. We're definitely getting better at it than we used to be, but we still got a long way to go culturally because there's still a lot of, oh, I don't claim mental health. That's not of God. The same way you'll go if you got cancer, let somebody pump poison into your body to take care of the cancer. Mm-hmm. But we have two professionals in the field right here in front of us, but we won't go see them when mentally we're stressed out. So that aspect of it, I think it is very important. We need to start doing a better job of taking care of ourselves mentally, like we do physically.
All right, Mr. Ratchford.
Well, I think mental health is very important. Even as I look at some of the names that are commenting, coming in, Dr. Houston, Sherman Thompson, Pamela Edmonds, who will be Pastor Pamela Edmonds soon. My mom, who, when I talk about we've been doing this for 17 years, probably the first few shows, she might have been the only one listening. So mental health, thinking about the influence people have on your lives, both positive and negative, is important. There's nothing worse than having a negative reaction, especially when you're dealing with coworkers or people that you can't get out of that space with as easy when you're interacting with them. The toll it takes on your mental health, I think, can bring you down to something less than what you really want to be in your ideal self.
Okay. And then I'll go over to you, Dr. Keith, for my next question. Can you share maybe a personal experience where mental health played a significant role in maybe a relationship that you had with someone, or pretty much an example to where you kind of saw that play out?
Oh, absolutely. Because I am a living testimony. So because for me, I experienced postpartum a little over 20 years ago when I was pregnant with our first child, our son. And with that, after giving birth, the whirlwind that took me through, I ended up in the hospital, and that's when I began to actually take my first true journey of having my own therapist and doing things that were necessary to make sure that I was getting myself back on track. Because, for me, in the situation of I wear the cape, I'm trying to do all the things, be superwoman, because my husband's deployed. I'm pregnant at the, had to go through a lot of this, on my own with some supportive friends, thank God, and my family checking in. But I'm in Texas, they're in South Carolina. So, it is trying to make sure that I'm doing all the things I need to do in a master's program, working, all of that stuff, but not really taking care of myself truly the way that I needed to. And so this created a shift for me to be able to identify what I needed. And in that space, it really forged and built my relationships. It continued to build my marriage for sure, because here's my husband coming home from deployment, and then I'm experiencing all of these things, and he jumps in and he takes over everything. And then my mom comes to help. And so my friends are there and everybody's got to shift. And this is where I really know that there are people in your lives for a reason. Mm-hmm. And there are people that are there to lift your arms up, and they truly will demonstrate that. But you have to at times be at your lowest sometimes to discover who those people are, because in the darkness you can see the people because the light will shine. And so that part of it, being able to go through that and have to really take an inventory of how I'm treating myself, how I'm showing myself grace, how I'm even, able to take a step back and let people do things for me, because I still wanted to do things. Right. I still wanted to be that going, no, you don't have to do that. I got that. But when people show up and step up, it is being able to take a step back and allow them to pour into you, because that also blesses them in the process. And so with that, it is, my husband really, he was observant and I wasn't paying attention, because he was like, are you going to eat? Are you, he's asking all the questions. And the most interesting piece of that is this happened. I really had a break on my birthday that year. And the day before my birthday, he asked me where I wanted to go eat. And I was looking at him like he had lost his mind, because I'm going, what are we doing on a Monday? Because I'm thinking about, cooking and different stuff. But he was like, for your birthday, the light clicked. Okay, wait a minute. What is going on? And so that became that space of having people around you who are that observant, who know when things are off with you, right, so that they can identify it and kind of call it out and ask you questions to make sure that everything is okay, to just check in. That piece makes a difference. And so with me, that was my real life experience. And I'm thankful that I'm here to be able to tell the story, because a lot of people don't realize just how important it is to take your time, to not rush, to not try to do all the things and be everything for everybody and nothing to yourself.
Thank you, Dr. Keith. And next, I'll go to you, J Mac, and then Lamont, and then Candace. So, do y'all have any personal experience you can share that mental health played a significant role in the relationship, whether with family, anything like that?
I can say I was blessed enough to come from a pretty close-knit family. I've spoken in the past on shows how my family is the biggest blessing I have. Like, that's always who I can go to, always who I can rely on. We'll cut up, we'll talk junk, we'll go back and forth. But if somebody in my family needs something, we're there for each other. And having that, I think it kept me out of a lot of situations to where I may have broken a lot faster. Situations with family, my mother's passing, things of that. If I didn't have that backing, if I didn't have those people I knew I could lean on, if I didn't have that that strength behind me to hold me up when I felt like I was falling, there's no telling where I could have been. So actually just started therapy myself about 2 months ago. It's, just not that I necessarily needed anything or I felt like I was falling there, but again, going back to that cultural thing, we all need somebody we can talk to sometimes. So with me, again, my family has always been that part that I could go lean on when I need something. So yeah, that has helped me probably more than anything as far as this like mental health situations.
Awesome. Once again, that village, I think where I saw somebody commented, it's good to have that village. Lamont, and then Candace.
I was just thinking about a scenario a couple of days ago. So for the people who don't know, Everett and his wife have had a rough year. And I talk to Everett 3-4 times a day. For the people who don't know that, think we just joke around on the show. No, we talk like all day about everything and anything. But I called him last week and, normal hello. And the first thing I said, man, you sound like you in a echo chamber. And he snapped. He was like, man, what do you mean? You trying to talk about where I'm at? I ain't putting up with that. And then I had to take a break. Hey, man, I didn't mean anything by it. But I had to check myself because we're all not in straight mental places. We all go through things. And, I'm a person that's been through a lot of things that might not always show on the outside. So I had to put myself in his shoes, like, nah, this ain't about me saying it sound like you in the echo chamber. This is all the other stress and life going on. So sometimes for me, because I am probably on 10 for the people that know me all the time, straight to the point and, keep it moving. But everyone is not trying to hear that all the time. And I have to check myself when I get to a point where I'm not being sensitive, not being compassionate, not understanding. And then, if you talk to people in a rough way, don't be surprised you get rough treatment back. And I have to check myself. And I can't be offended. Like, that's how I give it to you every day. So I can't be shocked when you start to give it to me because you hit your limit today. Today ain't the day for it. So yeah, definitely. And I'm talking about a close friend, someone, we talk about every and anything that I had to check myself from a mental health standpoint. Because I could have went on in, but that wasn't going to help our friendship. That wouldn't help his mental state or my mental state at that moment. So I wouldn't say I snapped. Man, I'm trying to be a nice story. Here you go with this.
Hey, at least he tuning in. Thank you, E, for tuning in. Thank you for the comments, sir. We love comments. Thank you so much.
Yeah, but it was an uncomfortable feeling for a second, but then I had to think, man, he's had a rough year, what I'm saying? And still healing. So with that, Everett, okay, you didn't snap, but you snapped in the Everett Abel way for me. The way I hadn't heard it before.
Awesome.
Candace, any personal?
Yeah, I mean, what I noticed, like in observing, when the thing is, when you become a therapist, you have to go through therapy. Like, it's a requirement for us to go through therapy. So as I was growing up into myself, becoming this woman I am today, it's like I noticed some things. about myself. I noticed that I was a people pleaser, and I also noticed I was codependent on a lot of people. And so, I had to break from that because what I find myself is I would get into, different relationships, friendships or whatever and remain and start this codependent behavior. And I was like, here I go again, people please, dog tired. Here I go saying yes to somebody else. And I'm extremely exhausted, and just not doing things to pour back into me. And I find myself frustrated, not with others, but with myself. And that would be an internal battle within me. And then I would get upset. But now it's like I'm kind of like an Everett, like I will speak up for myself. I don't like the way you talking to me. Like I don't like that. Like you can go sit down. Like like somebody told me today, hey, I'm a rest. Take a few mental health days from church. I said, okay, great. And then she text me again. I said, wait a minute now. You said you're taking some mental health days. Don't text me. It's like I'm accountable to stuff, and I like that about myself. So I'm like, yeah.
God, feel great Jehovah, pilgrim in this barren land.
Yeah, and even for me, just to kind of be transparent, when I was younger, I was more so, even in relationships, I would never really speak up for myself. So I would hold on to a lot of things just to try to keep the peace, right? I didn't like drama, but I caused so much drama inside of me internally from letting so much stuff go to where it was building up, right? And then I would explode at moments that didn't make sense. And I'm pretty sure even the audience may have experienced this, to where there was maybe a situation you were put in, and then someone may have said something or hurt your feelings or said something they shouldn't have stated. And then you leave that situation, you go home and you stew in it, right? And you're like, I should have said this, or why didn't you say that? And you're questioning yourself, right? To why didn't you defend yourself or say what you needed to say? And things like that can lead to depression, right? I had a bout of depression with that because I was just allowing things that, that shouldn't have been happening or shouldn't have been said to me, and not really saying anything back or not speaking my piece and holding on to those things. So that's very toxic, I learned, right? And now, my wife will tell you now I have no problem speaking my mind, but then it wasn't a good place to be in. And then, I had to pick and choose my battles as well. But just personally for that, I think that was my first time that I noticed that, being that way can very much be toxic for your mental health. And not saying you have to go and curse everybody out, and not saying that everything needs a response, but you can't allow people to just treat you any type of way and then just walk away and stew in it. And if anybody's experiencing that tonight, please do not do that, because, that's why you have all these mass school shootings, right? All this bullying stuff. You have people that continuously, get pushed around, prodded around, and they hit a wall. Everybody has their breaking point, right? And not saying that it's right, but just think if those people were able to speak with someone or get that outlet or be able to, express or get out some of that anger, we probably wouldn't see as much violence as we see in certain situations. But I definitely appreciate everyone's sharing their personal experiences.
And Marlon, let me say this for this show. We did a show, They're Not Like Us, last week. And a lot of people watched and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And to J Mac's point, especially in the African American community, when we do mental health shows, that's kind of tricky. I don't want to comment. I'm good. You good. Let's throw some dirt on it and keep moving. And I think we have to get out of that mind frame. And I just want to make that observation.
Yeah, I totally agree. And for my next question, I'll start with you, Candace. How can individuals recognize the signs of mental health issues in their partners, family members, etc.? How do you think we can recognize those things? And then I'll go to you next, J Mac.
So I think it's a matter of, I feel like it starts with a great foundation, right? Through communication with your partner, being able to see that, okay, maybe they're not doing the things that they used to do. They're not, they don't have an appetite. Maybe they're not going out with their friends, or maybe they're not doing something that they really enjoy, or maybe, and sometimes, a lot of times, I've learned that, I don't know if you guys remember Miss America, who committed suicide. That was my high school friend.
Oh, wow.
And so, through her, it's like you see this high functioning depression as well. Yes. And I feel like with relationships, we have to every day check in with one another. And that means that, at the end of the day, no matter how busy we are, we're looking at each other's eyes and we're saying, hey, like today was just not my day. It was just a terrible day. And being able to express yourself to your partner, I think that's really important. We make a lot of time for everything else, like Facebook or scrolling or TikTok or, our favorite show, but we don't make a lot of time to communicate. And so I would say a number one sign of, your partner may be struggling is their behavior is changing. Their, thoughts are a little more darker. They're a little negative. Just those kinds of things you want to definitely ask them. And then my thing is, and I might be getting ahead of myself, but I think about like, if they are struggling, then you have to say like, how can I support you? Not, oh, you're going to get through this. You're going to tough it out. Sometimes you got to meet people where they are. So.
Okay. J Mac, how can we recognize those signs?
I think Candace kind of hit on the head. You just kind of have to pay attention to people. You can't be that person for everybody, and trying to be that person for everybody will lead to a lot of burnout. I've had that before. Like I'm just that person a lot of people like to come vent to, which I'm fine with, but you have to keep yourself in a spot to where you can just kind of pay attention to the people that you feel like, all right, this is somebody I need to check on. Something as simple as, again, their attitude has changed. They don't smile as much. They don't laugh as much. They are kind of standoffish. They do all these things. So
Jimmy,
why can't we just go up and like, hey, you all right? We can't be scared to ask that question. We can't be afraid of just walking up to somebody, hey, you good? Everything okay? And genuinely mean it. Like, don't just come from a spot of, oh, I heard something going on, and you go up and you just trying to be nosy. Like, no. If you're going to check on somebody, genuinely check on them. Genuinely ask. Sometimes just sitting there in silence and just letting them just have somebody beside them, that's all sometimes some people need. So that's the biggest thing, I think, as far as a community. You just pay attention to the people that you say you love, be it work relationships, romantic relationships, family relationships. If you're in that relationship with somebody and you say that's somebody you care about, check on them, pay attention to them, and let them know that somebody's there if you need it.
Okay. Lamont, and then Dr. Keith.
I think checking in is important to understand what people are going through. J Mac said it well. We got to check in on someone. And then we can't always use this thing about time as an excuse. We all make time for what we want to make time for. And as I've gotten older, I've realized that, like, if you're only checking on me when you need something, you're not really for me anyway. That checking in on people is important because especially in the climate we're in, as we're getting a little bit older, it shows that you care, that you're invested in their lives. I still have people I've worked with, that I served in the military with, that I call. People I haven't seen physically in 20 years, but I know everything going on about them, and they know what's going on in my life because I really do care. Like, I care how they're doing emotionally. I care how they're doing physically. And I think I hate to bring this to the church. It's sometimes sad that we don't check in enough on people in our own church. Right? We go to church with people every Sunday, hallelujah, for a few hours, and then we'll wait till we see them next Sunday. And people be struggling. People be, barely holding in the road, and then we can't. As a church body, we ain't checked on nobody through the week. We just acting like, all right, they'll be all right. We'll see them next Sunday. So I do believe checking in on people is important to keep not only them grounded, but keep you grounded. That anything can happen at any time.
Right. I guess, and before you speak, Dr. Keith, it's more like, how we hit them with that "have a blessed week," right? And they week may have not been blessed, right? So I love what y'all are saying as far as don't make it routine, be intentional. When you ask somebody how you doing today, do you really mean that, or is just checking a box, right? But Dr. Keith, what are your thoughts on that as far as recognizing the signs of mental health issues?
Yeah, for sure. Everything that has been said is absolutely woven together perfectly, because it is about being checked in and not checked out. We've evolved into so much of phone holding and so much of, what this person said online or what this person is doing there. But the people right beside you, you have to be able to be aware and notice. That means you have to be present. That means you cannot be focused on something as simple as your phone just so much to the point that you miss a sign when somebody is doing something or moving a little different. Maybe they are, potentially for some people, if you're noticing, hey, wait a minute, the house looks really, really, really scarce of stuff. Where's all your stuff going? And they were like, oh, I gave it away, because I just wanted to declutter and get some things out. Now, granted, that might be true, but in some ways too, you have to really be observant enough to see, okay, is this really what's going on? Or is this person showing me signs that they want to really check out, as in they are feeling suicidal or some other things are going on? But you've got to be able to focus on that. You got to be able to stay in the moment and present enough to know and realize these things are going on. Not just like walking in the house with your head down because you're in your phone, or hey, how you doing? And then you're back to your phone. You've got to be present so that you can identify what's going on. Or if a usually happy person is snapping, like, wait, what's happening? Like
Maybe my team lost,
they what?
Maybe my football team lost,
And that could be true, but being able to stop long enough to have a conversation to really see and make sure that it's just your football team, lost, and then move from there. But you've got to be able to have the awareness, and you can't multitask all the time, because you are definitely going to miss a key opportunity to engage with the person.
Okay.
Marlon, some people at these funerals really mean they want to jump in these caskets with folks. You know how folks be showing out and falling. Now, some people
man.
doing it for show.
Yeah, you got a lot of people for the show.
Space who can't see their world without someone else, and you have to be observant for that.
I think it's like what Candace brought up too early, that codependency can be very powerful, right? So it's like, how can I see my life now that other person isn't here when I felt like they were the reason I was here, right? So that can be a double-edged sword. But Candace, I want to start with you for my next question as we kind of get into communicating about this, right? We're talking about recognizing signs, but now we want to kind of get into how we communicate in love, right? As far as with partners. So what are some effective ways to communicate with the partner about mental health struggles? Like if you're noticing those things, how do we bring that to them? Or how, even if you say someone recognized something with you, how would you like for that to be brought to you to open up that dialogue, to kind of make sure that we're getting on the same page and listening to see what we can assist with?
Listen, I say all things in love, seriously, but at the same time, like you have to think of it like this. That person's personality, how they behave and how they act, how they normally like for you to bring things to them. So do it the same way. So, if, you got a Lamont over here that's a straight shooter, you're gonna you're gonna tell him, hey, like, Lamont, I noticed you were a little different, so I feel like you have to do it based on their personality, based on who that person is. For me, I would love I like things done in love, gentle, because I'm just that kind of person. If you're going to tell me something, take me off to the side. Don't tell me in front of everybody else. I want you to take me to the side and say, hey, like, I noticed, you seem a little different. Is everything okay with you? And then maybe if I want to elaborate, I can, and I have that opportunity. But sometimes I do believe that everybody is not for you at the same time, so you just have to understand. But I guess in a romantic relationship, marriage, that's when, I'm checking in with my husband every day to say, hey, like, I noticed you were different. I noticed, there's something going on. Is everything okay? And if he says, most time men, my husband will say, hey, like, I just need a minute to collect my thoughts. Collects his thoughts, and then he's able to come back. And I think that's a beautiful thing. When I can give him his space, he's able to collect his thoughts, and then I can come back and say, okay, let's check in. How can I support you in that way? And it took us a while to get there. It took us a little minute to get there, for me to say, hey, like, I really care. I really need to check in on you to make sure you're okay. And so I think it's important that we know the dynamic of our relationship and we know who our partner or friend is. And that's how you should check on them, the way that they behave, basically, like the way that you feel like they will feel supported the most, I think.
Okay. Dr. Keith, what are some effective ways to communicate with your partner about mental health struggles? How do we start that discussion?
Well, being able to have that, I like to say, sometimes when I'm working with couples, I talk about a weekly check-in or weekly business meeting. And so what that can look like is maybe on a Sunday evening or when you all have designated that time, being able to come together and really have conversations. Sometimes that can look like talking about what the week looks like, talking about some things that are happening, some things that you have noticed, maybe talking about the children or some things that you have noticed about each other, and keep that at the forefront. Make sure that you are making intentional time, blocking out time, that's your protected space to be able to share with each other, and using I statements. Because if you go in there and go, you always or you never, I mean, you're using these absolutes that can create frustration, even more, and conflict. So just making sure that you're doing those things, make sure that you're really listening to each other. You're listening to understand, not listening to respond. Because you can have that thing in your head because they said this, and all of a sudden it's, wait a minute, nothing else was heard. It's just this point that you want to get across. But it is when you can really take a moment to listen, take a moment to validate how they feel, and let them know that you are in tune to them, that they have been heard. You know, all things off, all TV off, all, phones away, all those things, and being able to really connect so that you can see what's going on for real, and then communicate those things. Babe, this is what I've noticed about you, or this is what I've noticed about this. When I said this, maybe the other day, I noticed this. Tell me what's happening, or tell me what's going on, or what was going on at that particular time. So then those are moments that you can really key in on.
Okay. Lamont, what are your thoughts on that as far as effective ways to communicate with your partner if you recognize some of those struggles?
I mean, Candace is right. From my standpoint, you don't need to pull me to the side to have no conversation. Matter of fact, the thing I hate worse in life, whether it's work or personal, if you're beating around the bush trying to get to a point. Let me know your point and let's keep it moving. And I agree with Jimmy on a lot of stuff. And I do agree that, but see, I know this doesn't work with everyone. Like, some people ain't into this straightforward world and let's get this out in the open. What's the problem? And for a lot of people, that was a form of abuse growing up. Ain't nothing wrong with you. Go sit down somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I know that. But I also recognize that different people around me have different emotional needs that I need to communicate to. Everett had started talking about the 5 love languages book. And I was like, man, a book on love language, what we need that for? Hey, just don't be saying nothing out the way and we good. But we've done a few shows on that. And after I read and then looked at stuff, like, no, this fits perfectly in the world that we live in, that we need to cater to how we love people. And that word can't be used loosely, because not everyone you love. You might love them in the agape spiritual sense, but some people make it a little hard to love, to love on them and show them that. So I really think communicating to people, loved ones, in a way that they understand. You can't go guns hot with everybody. Now with me, you can. But everyone else, there's some people, you better.
Yeah, you can't treat everybody the same. Everybody got a communication language too, Lamont, just like love language, right? And it's certain things that people are gonna maybe open up and listen, and others, if you come to them, like Lamont say, straight shoot them. Marla may not be that way. So if you come to me that way, I'm shutting down, and you're not going to get what you're looking for from me, right? So it's kind of adapting and knowing your audience. But J Mac, well, what are your thoughts, sir, as far as effective ways to communicate with the partner or family member when you notice those mental health struggles going on?
Lamont kind of touched on what I was going to say. The same way where you have love languages, you pretty much got communication languages. Some people, like Lamont, myself, you ain't got to sugarcoat it. You ain't just tell me what you think and tell me what you're feeling, and I'm okay with that because that's how I communicate. I'm straightforward. Sometimes I feel like I'm too straightforward. I need to back off and sugarcoat a little bit for other people. But if you're talking to somebody like us, yeah, just tell me what you're thinking and we can just go ahead and get to it. But if I know this person is a little bit more reserved and they, you need a little bit more kid glove with them, I have to be able to communicate in a way that makes them comfortable. It's almost like you have to be able to hurt feelings in a way that's not going to hurt feelings. I have to be able to say what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And again, that can be a romantic relationship. It can be work. It can be child. It can be friend, brother, sister, whatever. But being able to say what you think this other person needs to hear in a way that they can accept it and not feel slighted by it. So that communication, you have to know who you're talking to. You have to know how they need to be talked to, and how they receive information is just as important as the way you say it.
Thank you. And Candace, I'll start off with this question with you because you kind of brought this up, how you started out with the codependency thing, right?
Yeah.
So as far as that goes, how can couples, family members, how can they avoid falling into those unhealthy patterns of codependency? Like, is there a roadmap for this?
Phew, man. Okay. I feel like it's a lot of it is self-evaluation, right? You notice that you don't feel good when you're always depending on others. I feel like the biggest roadmap is finding yourself. When you are codependent, I feel like you don't really understand who you are. You don't understand what you like. You are always taking care of everybody else instead of taking care of yourself first. And so for me personally, what I had to do is really do a lot of self-evaluation. What do I like? What do I not like? What is my limit? Like if I don't talk to enough people. I'm gonna tell you this, for example, like I have maybe 5 to 6 clients a day, right? And then I have a cousin or somebody that want to call me on the phone and talk about drama. I don't have the capacity to talk about this. I'm trying to, get ready for the next day. I'm trying to woo-saw, put my daughter to bed. Like, I'm spending time with my husband. I want to watch the show. I want to just be Candace. Like, and I literally would not even answer the phone, or be like, I can't talk right now. I'm gonna have to call you back. But I don't even owe them that. I had to get to a place where I said, I can ignore the phone call. It's all good. You keep calling me if you want to. People would really keep calling me. Like I'm about to answer the phone. And I had a cousin really get upset with me because I was that person that would answer the phone all the time. But I got to a place in my life where I was like, no, I'm not going to answer the phone. And then I said to her, I gave her the business and I just text you because she texted me and she went there with me. And she was like, well, I know you see me calling. I'm busy right now. And I left it at that. And I was happy. I was happy about that. See, the thing is, when you break free from codependency and you start to get a voice for yourself, you don't know how to act. You're just excited about the wins for yourself. And you're like, yes, I can really do this. And the more you do it, the more confident you'll become because you're actually standing up for yourself and you're doing the things that you want to do. You don't have to talk on the phone just because they want you to talk, just because they having a bad day. Well, I done talked to 5 people today. I don't want to talk to anybody else.
And it sounds like that's freeing because that does affect your mental health, right? Did you have something, Lamont?
Yeah, I can tell me and Candace won't be able to be friends. Like when I need to talk, I need you to pick up the phone. I don't need you all in your feelings about I done talked to 10 people. No, I'm calling and pick up the phone. What else we doing? What else you got going on? And I am the person who will call you back. Hey, I called you 4 times. I noticed you didn't answer. I mean, what's going on?
And Dr. Keith, I'll go to you next. How can we avoid this in relationships as it relates to mental health, that codependency, where we may be dependent on others a bit much, where it starts affecting our mental health?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. No is a complete sentence with a period, an exclamation point, whatever it is you need to put behind it. But be consistent with it. Whatever your rhythm, identify what your rhythm and routine needs to be for you. Like Candace was saying, not answering the phone, or put your phone on that good thing, That's do not disturb, so that you don't even hear it nor see it. And granted, if they call back, it might slide through, but chances are it might not. And so you just keep it there, and you allow yourself the opportunity to really know your boundaries, identify what is going to be the best thing for you, so that you can show up and be happy to see people and not frustrated because they are always pulling on you or always taking. You have to treat this like you're the bank. You don't want to be bankrupt. You don't want to be in the red. You want to have deposits. And so what is it that can deposit into you? Who can deposit into you? Because everybody can't do that. Everybody doesn't have the capacity nor the know-how. And understanding that too, and being okay when they can't pour into you in the way that you need, but understand that I still need it. I still need this recharge. Just because they can't give it, I've got to figure out what it is that I do that pours into me. So if that is waking up in the morning, reading your scriptures, praying, drinking your water, making sure you go work out, those kind of things keep you happy, healthy, and going, then do those things. If somebody is calling or they're trying to get your routine off balance, no, I will call you back later, or I will handle that later. That is not an emergency. If I don't put this oxygen mask on me, I'm going to pass out. And they don't want to be around me when it's almost pass out time, because I am irritable, angry, and agitated. So that is what you have to kind of do to be able to not be codependent.
Okay. J Mac, then I'll go to you, Lamont. What are y'all thoughts on codependency as it relates to mental health?
What's the old saying? You can't pour from an empty cup. If you're not taking care of yourself first, you can't take care of anybody else. So being that person that a lot of people come to for help, for advice, to vent, whatever, it's a good thing to be, because it means people trust you. It means people feel like they can come to you and vent and get things out. So that's an important role that people have to play. But you have to make sure you got space to take care of yourself. If you're stressed out, if you're empty, if you don't have that time, you can't help anybody else. You can't be effective at helping if you're in a spot where you need the help in that moment. So taking time for yourself, just to, like you said, just get that woo-saw moment and just get everything off and get yourself back into a place where you're able to help. That's important. If you're going to be that person, if you're going to be that, that person that people come to, sometimes you got to find somebody to go to yourself. I said once before, who takes out the trash man's trash? I can't come get your trash and your trash and your trash and your trash. And then when it's time for me to take my trash out, I can't take my own trash out. Somebody got to take mine out every once in a while. So you have to find that person that you can confide in, even if you're the person that everybody else confides in. So taking care of yourself is a very important thing when it comes to not only your mental health, but everybody else's mental health.
All right, Lamont.
Oh, I like what everyone's saying. And I want to say, first of all, thank you for all the comments, the people that are watching. Dr. Keith with our sorors watching.
That was that sister she was talking about earlier.
Yeah. Now that makes sense.
Yeah.
I like the comment, the being validated and valued. I think that's important in our relationships. We got to be validated and valued. And when I figure out you can't validate or value me, there's a difference from me being mad at you and not having respect for you. And I think sometimes people don't realize the difference. Like, I can cut you off both ways, but if I don't respect you anymore, that's a different level. I'm not bad. I just don't have any respect for you because I know you don't validate or value me as a person either. You've shown that through your actions. The second thing I want to point out, me and Everyday were working out our relationship difficulties here on the show.
You've been on that snap word all night. I know.
Yeah, we're working out our
a little scary
live right here on the show.
Right.
So when we talk, because me and Everett usually talk after the show, because I like his feedback, and I let him know where he had messed up at during the night when he's on. So, we need that balance. And I see people saying you can't pour from an empty cup. I'm telling you, When I call, you need to pick up. Now, I don't know what be going on. You might, I don't know about these details that J Mac just gave, the trash man picking up some trash, and then he can't take his own trash. For some reason, none of this sound valid to me. If we friends, I need you to pick up. I don't know what's going on in your life. You better call somebody else to pick up your trash. But hey, man, we need to talk this thing through. You and Candace, I don't know if we're going to be able to be friends right now. Sorry about that, Marlon. So that's my long answer. But thank you for all the people who are watching and commenting right now.
All right. Thank you. And once again, yeah, great comments. We appreciate the feedback. And I'll start this next question with you, J Mac, on kind of support / communication. So what advice would you have for someone that may be dealing in a relationship, maybe sister, brother, mom, daughter, dealing with those mental health struggles, but they're feeling overwhelmed and maybe even sort of guilty that they can't really help that individual with the help that they truly need at this point? What advice would you give someone right now that's kind of going through that? And I want the panel to kind of think about that as well. I'll be coming to you next, Dr. Keith.
You can't feel guilty about not being able to help. I hear what Lamont's saying about, hey, you know, when I call, you need to pick up. I might pick up, but we might not be able to have that entire conversation you need right now because, you know, 10, 15 times in a row you call and I got you. But that 16th time, I can't give you the help you need. So I'm just not the one for you right now. And you have to be okay with telling people not right now. But, you know, not right now doesn't mean never again. It just means right now in the spot I'm in, the place I'm in, I'm just not able to have this conversation. And I think a lot of times we feel guilty about that because you do have somebody come to you for help. But again, like I said earlier, you can't help anybody if you're in a spot where you need help. You can't pour from that empty cup. If you don't have the mental capacity to give the advice and the help that they need, it's going to be a problem. So you're not really going to be helping the situation. You might end up making it worse because, as we said earlier, you called me, you know, just like, you know, Everett had to snap on Lamont. I mean, it was a point where it wasn't the time. He couldn't do it. And next thing you know, we got this strained relationship. I can't see my boys hurting like this. It hurts me. And now I feel like they need some counseling. But it was just in that moment, it was just not the right point. So you have to be in a spot to where you're able to help when somebody comes to looking for help.
And Dr. Keith, before I go to you, I'll play devil's advocate. You know, we're talking about picking up the phone, not picking up the phone, right? And say you don't pick up that 16 time, J-Mac. How is that individual supposed to know that you don't have anything left? Because then they're left to their own thoughts, thinking that you just didn't care about them to even pick up to see what was going on with them. So how would they know what you were going through? And I think that's where we create that double-edged sword. And when someone doesn't pick up and doesn't, you know, listen to your issue, that's when, and it's happened to me, right? People have cut me off. They ain't speak to me over a year over, you know, something that we could have worked out, right?
Right.
But I challenge, you know, people that are listening tonight that, you know, if someone's not picking up, you know, some people can read between the lines. Hey, maybe they're going through something, but others are going to be kind of like, okay, they can't be there for me. That's fine. And then they may look to other outlets that aren't healthy, right? To kind of deal with some of those mental challenges they're having. But Dr. Keith, what are your thoughts on that?
So if you're in a space where you feel like you don't have anything to give them or you can't necessarily help them, I encourage you to encourage them to get professional help. That means to seek out counseling. You know,
Can they send a text, Dr. Keith, or something instead of just not picking up? Don't say nothing to me. Can I get a text?
What?
Can I get a text message or something?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I can tell you that, you know, right now I need to rest because I'm tired. But now still that person may still think that whatever's going on with them is bigger than me getting rest right now. Now, granted, if there's a situation and it's a serious situation, okay, yeah, let me see. But if it's not, then this is where I'm at because I can't give you anything, you know, because like you said about the empty cup, you know, that empty cup does not quench anybody's thirst. And so I may not really be able to give you a 100% great answer to whatever's happening because I'm halfway checked out anyway. So you're not getting my best self. You're getting like a piece of me right now, not the whole me. And so that really does make a difference. But if you can't, if you're in a place and that person's having some mental health issues, absolutely. If you get to the point where you're like, okay, nothing I'm saying is helping, absolutely show them and direct them to encourage them to get professional counseling. That can be through, Psychology Today. I see Latasha Brown Baird on here, Brown Clinical Services, Candace Moffitt, me, Leslie Stewart. A lot of counselors are on this call right now. So there are places to go that you can direct them to, being able to really in some ways find something that's practical to support them, asking them really at the heart of this, what is it that you need right now? Like what could I do that would help you right now? Whether that might be they just kind of need to get some things straightened up because their house is in disarray, or one thing or the other might just take the load off just a little bit depending on what they've got going on. Definitely have the patience. If you don't have the patience, absolutely refer them to a counselor, because you don't want to hurt them. You want to be able to help them as opposed to hurting them.
What are your thoughts, Candace? And then I'll go to you, Lamont.
Oh my goodness, these comments, I gotta read them.
And I was gonna ask Dr. Keith, do y'all still recommend journals? Candace, y'all still recommend?
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
I thought he was being funny.
I call her Dr. Brown, but Miss Brown says one person should not be the only person's outlet. It's important to build a support system more than one outlet. And then Jimmy said, you should not feel guilty for not being able to help everyone. This is a form of bondage. If you are there for everyone, then why would they need to call on God? So I think those are two very important topics, points that they made. So I appreciate y'all, Ms. Brown and Jimmy, for commenting on that. I really feel like we got to get to a place where we don't take everything personal. If you've heard of the 4 agreements, that's one of the biggest ones. We cannot take everything personal. I feel like a lot of times in relationships and within our own selves, we hold on to a lot of stuff, right? We're holding on to that person didn't call me, that person didn't speak to me, that person forgot that they were supposed to meet and have lunch, blah, 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 blah. Like we're holding on to a lot of things. And I feel like we cannot take things personal because everyone has their journey. How about you go outside of yourself and, hey, remember we're supposed to have lunch. Remember, why don't you remind them of the things that they were supposed to do? So I feel like we cannot be everything to everybody. And we really have to, either that person really needs to seek professional counseling. They need to continue to develop a relationship with God. A lot of times people don't develop the relationship with God that they need to. Like they don't hear God because they always talking to God. They always talking at God instead of listening to him. And so sometimes they don't know how to have that communication going. So that's my point.
Mr. Ratchford.
Shout out to all the counselors that are watching. Dr. Keith named a lot of people watching. Let me say this. I might not be in agreement with all these counselors, though. If you do something personally to me, you personally meant to do that. And I'm going to hold you accountable for that personal thing you did.
Can you give us an example? I'm sorry. You got to give us an example.
Don't get him started.
Snapped on me. I personally need to hold him accountable for snapping on me and let him know how I felt about that. He did that to me personally. He didn't.
Don't hold on to it, Lamont. Let him know.
He didn't do it in the wind. He didn't do it to some stranger. He did that personally to me. So shout out to the counselors again. We got a lot of ministers or pastors watching also. Shout out to those people who are commenting, who I agree. We need to make sure we have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. But some of y'all I get a little worried about. Because when I see you praying in church, you praying for 15 minutes, ain't no way you praying to God that long when you by yourself. So I want to make sure I'm clear too. I'm sorry, I got us off topic, Marlon.
Fake prayers.
Fake prayers out here. Shout out to the pastors again on the show. But no, this is an important topic about accountability within our relationships. And I agree. Sometimes the day ain't the day. Like the day ain't the day for this foolishness. And sometimes it might be hard to recognize if you're the one that's trying to give the foolishness or you just trying to dump all your problems on someone else. Because sometimes that's what people do. Dump all their financial problems on you, hoping that you're going to say, how much do you need? Or dumping all their life problems. And then you got life problems going on. So I think, and I agree so wholeheartedly with this statement. It is important to share your feelings. I think too many of us bottle up our feelings, and then when we do say something, we snap, everydayable, or we just get ourselves out of pocket, and then like, where that came from? Like, so I don't know why Everett's trying to work through our personal relationship on this show by talking about getting a journal on top of Jesus, but Everett, I'm gonna call you after this so we can talk through this.
Yeah,
You
and I
got
would
two
say,
counselors on with you. Please have one of them on three-way.
yeah, and I would say if you think about this too, you all, before I go to the next question, even social media to me can intensify mental health problems and cause a lot of conflict, right? Because for me, one of my pet peeves, or even with my children, I call you, you don't pick up, then I see you post on Facebook, right? That's a problem for me because now I'm taking it personal, and and they could be on their computer for all I know. I could care, but care less. But I know you on your phone. Most of us got our phones in our hands and can do so many things. So I think that even intensifies, even some of the situations that we're talking about tonight, right? Or even a text. Can if I'm telling you something's going on with me, I'm not feeling, the best right now. Can we just talk through text? But no, they never respond. How many people in your life are like that, right? They don't do really well with even responding to text messages. And somebody leaving you on stuck or ghost like that, I think that can cause some of those issues right in your head to be like, wow, I wasn't important enough for you to even respond back to. Even if it is, hey, I'm not emotionally available right now. Try me tomorrow. Give me something. I ain't trying to deal with you right now. You're depressing. I don't know. But I think when people get left on stuck like that, I think it makes you start thinking other things that aren't really there, right? Because if we don't have that answer, we're going to make up what our mind is telling us. Well, this was probably why they didn't respond to me. But I love playing devil's advocate, so I just said I'll throw that out there, Lamont.
Marlon, can I give a good example?
Yeah.
Don't tell me you tired and going to bed, and I look at your Facebook status as dreaming. So this new social media mess, folks.
Hey, you done went live.
You talking about man, I'm so tired, I'm beat, I'm going to bed. And then your social media accounts are all active, dreams set up. Like, wait a minute, I thought you were tired.
But Dr. Keith, I'll go to you. And this will be my last question before we kind of start wrapping up. So in your opinion, as dealing with mental health, dealing with clients, and then I'll go to you next, Candace, as well. Why do you think there's so many, mental health challenges and so many disconnects when it comes to family bonds? Sisters not talking to sisters, fathers not talking to sons, mothers not dealing with daughters for years, having best friendships with other women versus your own blood. Why do you think that dynamic is so prevalent as it relates to that mental health thing? I know there's probably some issues coming up that they probably didn't discuss, we didn't talk about, but in your experience, like, what do you pretty much see in your profession on a day-to-day basis, what causes that? And two-parter, what is the fix to that? How do we close the gap on those things to where we have relationships to where they don't speak to each other, don't deal with each other, then something tragic happens, right? Like Black families do. And now, like Lamont said, you crying over the casket. It should have been you. So I know that's a loaded question, but what are your thoughts on that? And Candace, I want you to be thinking about that as well.
I think a lot of times there's a lot of unresolved issues throughout the years. Things that were left unsaid, things that people just said, oh, just forget it. And they started continuing to live life. And then it was easier in a way to forge relationships with friends outside of your family group, because in some ways, they may know some things about you, but they may not know a lot about what's happening or what's going on to really be able to address it or acknowledge it or support you in certain situations. They've not seen you in that season. They've not seen you in the season when you and your sister were knocked down, drag out, having a fight. And then, it just was never resolved and you kept on going. The more that people don't have the effective ways to communicate, they are talking from the emotion and not from the I've taken the time to really sit with this and really know how I feel. In terms of me being able to say, I feel like I was hurt by you when this happened. And being able to have those conversations, I think it becomes difficult as you continue to go, because now some people might not see a good reason to go back and address that or have that conversation, because they will say that this is in the past. You should be over that. But it's not the going over the hump, it's going through it that will break it up and separate it and make everything able to just utilize a little bit and take bit by bit to work through and move through. You're breaking up some things and preventing yourself from being in a space where there is always conflict. So then it just trickles down and it just becomes a cycle in the system, because this set of people don't talk, this set of family members don't talk to each other, the kids don't talk to each other. Nobody it has that connection until somebody says, wait a minute, this cycle and this system don't work. I mean, I really want to know these people. What did they do to me? And then they start to try to forge those relationships, but those relationships for them are different than maybe your perspective on it, because you have that hurt that you're dealing with. But I think the key pieces of being able to bring that back together is really to still try to find ways to acknowledge it, try to find ways to address it, continue to really honestly pray for the people as well, your family members, because you want God to touch their heart so that he can make it more soft and able to receive what it is that this conversation is going to bring about. Because that's where I think the healing comes from, when people can really see each other and really see into each other and see that some of this hurt could have been some other things that were going on at the time as well. But right now, if we want to heal it, we can't heal anything we won't reveal. And if my best friend knows more about the situation than the person that hurt me, that's a problem. Because the person that hurt me can potentially be the one to help me to continue to grow and heal, and we can heal together. Now, if that person never acknowledges the hurt, that'll be okay too, but I've still got to be able to release it so that I'm not holding the grudge, so that when I see them, it's love. Even if I don't like some of the behaviors, it's still love. And I can genuinely stay in that space with them and be okay.
Okay. Candace, what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, Dr. Keisha. Listen, I love it. Okay. I agree with her on a lot of the things she was saying. The number one, unresolved trauma, just holding things in all the way from childhood to adulthood, not elaborating, oh, I felt like you're the sister that, felt like she was better than me or whatever. The second thing I think about is the person changing, right? They're elevating. Maybe they don't operate or do the same things that they used to. They don't hang out in the same places they used to. So family members tend to think, oh, you think you're better, or you think you're doing different things, or they've elevated, so to speak, in their lives. And so now it's a matter of having a conversation to say, hey, I know it's black and white. They see this person elevating, but another thing is to say, hey, I feel like you left me behind, but that other person could say, hey, I'm not leaving you behind. I want you to join me. I invalidate that person. But then again, Dr. K was saying, that if that person never validates you, if you address the situation and you tell them how you feel and they never validate you, that's okay. You were able to release it. You were able to let them know. Now it's your business to continue to heal and continue to let God heal that spot, not them. A lot of times we look for the other person to validate, the other person to say, I'm so sorry. And if it's not, I'm so sorry, and I jumped 5 times, we feel like, oh, that wasn't good enough. So we have to begin to heal within ourselves. And I feel like we have to figure out what we need, because a lot of times we place the responsibility on other people versus doing the work ourselves. It's not them. They may never apologize to you, but you got to be okay with that and you got to release it. And so I think that's a big thing, is really the self-evaluation and knowing what it is we need. Yeah, it's okay to have that conversation, but what are you going to do to heal? So, and I want to shout out to my hubby, Warren Moffett. Thank you for working behind the scenes.
Yes.
I'm not even going to say where I think your comment just came from. It might be one I share off the air. But you're right. Your husband is doing an amazing job behind the scenes. You can tell Warren Moffett really supports, celebrates you.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Appreciate it, baby.
So I'll go to you next, Lamont, with that, and then you, J-Mac.
So I might be on the wrong side of these councils again. But if you have did something to hurt me or to create damage, you can't tell me how my reaction should be. Mm-hmm. And tell me I'm over the top, or you ain't got to do all that. You doing too much. Nah, my reaction is what my reaction is to what you've caused or created. And I think that a lot of times family members, friends, close relationships will do things to you intentionally and then tell you how your reaction should be, that, oh, you're now overreacting to the hurt and damage. I agree. We shouldn't hold on to these things, but you can't tell me how my response should be to the hurt and pain you've created in my life. That I should be able to apply whatever force I need to feel like I'm good. And I know that might be off the top rope, but if that's the case, people need to be careful how they treat others, especially within families and personal relationships, because you can't dictate how someone else is going to respond. I know the counselors have better answers than I do, but that's just my personal feelings about that.
I want to chime in on mine. I know we're wrapping up, but no, I think it's completely different. It's not you telling them how you feel, it's what you're gonna do. Like, because like if you sitting here trying to tell them how hey Lamont, what you did 10 years ago really hurt my feelings, and then you say, oh nah, that ain't nothing. Like, that is not the right way to go about things. I'm not saying that way. I'm saying if I'm telling you something and you react that way, I have to be okay with walking away. Like, I have to be okay with saying, like, maybe another time, maybe we need a mediator to get to the root of this. Like, because a lot of times people don't know how to take accountability. They don't know how to say, like, oh, well, let me look at myself and see, like, how, or have empathy at all. And so I feel like sometimes there has to be a third party that comes in so that, people can really have a whole understanding, because sometimes Lamont may be in a place in his life where he don't care about nothing. And this is just a hard shell he got going on, but in the inside, he's really hurting and he just let go of everything. So he can't take accountability for that right now. So that's my thought.
Yeah. And I have one thing too. Well, maybe two things. Your feelings are absolutely valid, and it's not to negate anything about how you feel, because that's how you feel. Nobody absolutely can tell you how you feel. I think the key component is both parties, even if they don't agree, they are listening to each other, and they are seeing it from each other's side. Now, I might be like, well, why are you hurt? Because you said X, Y, and Z to me, but it just is, it's about your perception is your reality. And so I never want to negate what that is, because you feel how you feel. It is still my hope at some point that you can go and work through the feeling piece of it and get to at the heart of this. If honestly, if I'm standing there and they're closing this casket down, am I okay with where I am with this person right now? Because if I'm not okay with where I am with this person right now, then I need to do something different. So that means I need to heal my feelings, because, that hurt might not be my fault. That healing is absolutely my responsibility. And so in that, what is it that I need to do to keep myself from feeling those feelings when it's all said and done and I can't say another thing to that person? Am I okay that I have still displayed love? Am I okay that even if I didn't like a thing, Am I okay that I've still tried to reach out or do whatever it is that I needed to do? Because this is on me. This ain't on them. This is on me. And then once we can be through that piece, then I think this will be better on the other side. But realistically, the shell that Candace talks about prevents, it's the armor, it's the defense mechanisms of, you're not gonna hurt me again, nobody gonna hurt me again, because I'm just tough. And I give it, I'm a straight shooter. You're a straight shooter because you're hurt. And you don't know how to heal that. That is where counseling comes in.
Get him, Dr.
That is the important piece.
So
of
Lamont
being
is
able
hurt.
to have
I like
somebody
that.
else.
Lamont is really hurting right now. He's put a turtle shell
That's
on.
what it is. Shout out to the counselors who we ain't having neither one of them back. Listen. Shout out, no, seriously, to the, and I know we got to get to J-Mac more start to wrap up, but go ahead. I'll save mine for the end. Go ahead, J-Mac.
I'd love to hear your thoughts, J-Mac. Go ahead, sir.
I guess we're going to ignore the fact that we've been talking all night about how Lamont said Everett overreacted to what he said. So we're going to ignore that part. We just going to know that everything Lamont just said, he been talking about Everett all night.
They gave us a prime example for the show, right?
Right. We're going to just know that fact.
Yeah,
as far as the family dynamic or just any relationship, when you have that spot to where it's just broken, for lack of a better word, somebody has to be the bigger person. And somebody has to be that one to say, okay, this has gone on long enough. We've been separated long enough. You're my brother. You're my cousin. You're my son. You're my co-worker, whoever. What was that Michelle Obama says? When they go low, we go high. Now, I know, like Lamont, that ain't how he think. He think they go low.
He go to hell.
Going low as a pregnant ant belly button. That's what Lamont gonna do. And I relate to that. That's okay. But if this is a relationship that you actually care about, at some point you kind of gotta humble yourself a little bit and just step back and say, okay, how long are we gonna let this go before we fix this? And again, as I said, I really don't have that familial issue. Like, again, because my family, we tight, but I've seen it in family members with other family members to where they have those issues and they won't just, go back and fix something. It could be something simple. And I think it just comes down to sometimes just being stubborn. I'm not going to speak first because I didn't do it. Well, the other person feels the same way. They feel like they ain't going to speak first because they didn't do it. So how long are you going to go back and forth about I'm not going to speak first? And then something happened and now you don't have a chance to speak again. And you have that crying over the casket, take me with you moment. So being able to just sit there and say, okay, the love I got for this person is stronger than the hatred I have for this one little small moment, and just go back and fix it. Just go back and just say the words and see where it can go.
Good stuff. All right. Well, Candace, I'll start with you as we wrap up. So I know we talked through some topics tonight as far as understanding mental health, recognizing signs, communication, support, and things like that. With y'all being in that profession, for anyone that's in the audience tonight that's listening and maybe experiencing any of the topics that we kind of talked about tonight, what advice would you have for them, to maybe seek some type of help, counseling, or what would you say for them? What may be the first thing that they need to do if they're experiencing any of the topics that we talked about? I'll go to you next, Dr. Keith, you, J-Mac, and then Lamont, you can wrap us up.
Okay, I would say I really believe that finding a counselor that you can trust and confide in is really like finding, someone of your preference. Just as you go, get your hair cut, just as you go, to your doctor, your dentist, whoever it is, you find someone that you feel comfortable with, that you can open up to. And so if you have tried counseling and it hasn't worked, please don't give up. Continue to look through the profiles of Psychology Today. We have several counselors on tonight. Dr. Brown with Brown Clinical Services. We have Dr. Keith. We have myself with New Vision Therapy and Wellness. And so my thing is, take the first step. Find you someone that you can confide in. I always say that, I believe that counseling is a beautiful thing, It's just about finding someone that you believe can help you. Because if you don't believe they can help you, they're not gonna be able to help you. And so please don't give up. Please continue to seek help. Because it is a beautiful thing. You notice strengths you never had, because if you think about it, that is a whole hour, 50 minutes, 60 minutes, or whatever is allotted for you to talk about yourself. A whole hour for you to talk about yourself, for you to work on yourself, for you to become a better person. And so that is a beautiful thing when you have the right therapist and the right client.
All right, Dr. Keith.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All of that. All of that. And also in that process, understanding and acknowledging that mental health, well-being and wellness is an ongoing journey. It's not a one-time deal. It's not a one-step, you're going to get it all today and you're going to be 100% tomorrow. It's understanding that this is a process. And just like we all, like she said, go to the doctor. Hopefully, if yearly you go get a annual physical or checkup, that you go get an annual mental health checkup as well, that you check in. And I'm not saying just do it then, but if that's just what you can do, then do that, because every little bit will help you. It will allow you to be able to get some nuggets, get some tools in your tool bag to be able to take forward with you so you can do life. Because, when life is life, and you're going to need a support. And so that means that you get this person who is not biased, who isn't like your best friend or whoever, and they're not going to tell you what you want to hear all the time. They are going to challenge you, and it's not going to feel good. But no pearl was ever forged without the rub. It takes some difficult moments. It takes some rubbing. It takes some stretching you beyond where you feel like you want to go. But in the long run, you're going to find that you are going to be in a better place, because you have done the hardest job you will ever do, the work on yourself. You've been able to make yourself different so you can think different, feel different, and be different. And even if you're like, okay, I'm not into this whole mental health thing, blah, 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 that's not what I do. Fine. But I want you to consider, how am I still going to navigate and do self-care? What does that need to look like for me? How am I doing things that are healthy, that are going to set me up mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and cause me to be well in those spaces? That means that you got to have some good, wise people that are pouring into you, and not the foolishness and the drama, or the agitators, or the booster cables that are just ready for something to pop off. And when you mad, they mad. No, you have to find that thing in that person in that place. But that one starts with God. You got to know him. And when you know him, he gives you peace. And in that peace, you can continue to walk this thing out and do the things that you need to do. But don't negate any of the things that can help you just because you don't understand it yet. Try it before you knock it.
All right, J Mac and then Lamont.
When I say this, I'm not taking away from anybody else. I'm just speaking to who I'm speaking to. Black man, go take care of yourself. Black man, go take care of your mental health. Black man, find you an outlet. Black man, find you a release. Black man, it's okay to cry. Black man, it's okay to feel down. Black man, it's okay to take care of yourself. The world tells us daily, 24/7, that you just got to be this hard rock. That's not true. Again, the reason I want to say it specifically to black men is because we feel like, again, culturally, we're the ones that don't need it the most. And we feel like we're the ones that can take care. Oh, I got it. No, you don't. You don't always have it. So finding a place, finding a safe place, finding a place you can go, even if it's just like your boys. Get you a good core group of friends to where If y'all just out at the bar drinking beer, watching the game, and you look over and your boy is crying, y'all take care of him. You can't do that with all your friends, but just find you something, find you someplace, find you a release to take care of yourself. Mental health is very important. There's nothing wrong with therapy. There's nothing wrong with seeking out counseling. So I'm gonna just leave it on that. Everybody need it, but black man, take care of yourself.
Amen.
And Marlon, I'll go to you before I wrap up.
Well, I take away, and I know we didn't talk a lot about the church and God, but we did hear a lot of that, keeping the word daily, staying in your word to keep, staying covered in God's word, right? Because a lot of times the flesh can take over, right? And a lot of times when the flesh does take over, the devil can try to come in and mess with your mental, right? And we didn't even touch that part, right? Spiritual warfare, internal stuff that you have even within yourself. That maybe somebody didn't even cause. Maybe it's something that if you've been hard on yourself and caused some of those mental issues. But what I take away, man, is I think what you said is very powerful, J Mac. As far as black men, black women as well, taking on so much and feeling like you can't ask for that help, and that's one of the hardest things in the world to do, right? For most people, I got it, I can do it on my own, and people just break down, and a lot of people don't even have the luxury of having a village, right? You have a lot of families that aren't even close like that to where they do even check on each other. Some people out there just out there, right? And if they can't get it, no one else can get it. And then you wonder why people do things that can get them in certain situations, but they probably felt in that moment that's all they had because they didn't have that mental health support. So I would just say, stay in the word, get that counseling. It shouldn't be something to be ashamed of. I know that, back when I was coming up as well, that was something, was a shame to go to what they call a quack in the day, right? Why are you talking to someone about your issues? You should be able to handle those things. Oh, it'll go away, it'll pass. No, you definitely should get some help for that. So if anybody's out there, anybody's listening tonight going through that, don't feel ashamed to get any type of counseling. It's a start. And I think like Dr. Keefe said earlier, it's not going to be fixed in 30 days, right? It is a journey. It's a marathon, not a race. So take care of yourself, take care of your wellness, because you can't be good for others if you're not good yourself.
I want to thank everyone for watching, listening, and commenting tonight. Very important conversation as we talk about navigating this world with mental health and our relationships. And then during these times we're in, knowing who you can support, who you need to be supported by, who you should be supporting is key. There's people right now who are afraid they're going to lose their job by the drop of a dime. There are people out here who are struggling, trying to figure out they didn't worked into their 60s if they're going to have a job to finish this race of a job and finish it on their own terms without being terminated. We're in challenging times. Higher Definition pivoted during COVID, and we started to have a lot more mental health shows on purpose. That was a deep, dark time for a lot of us, and we needed to focus on mental health. So we started to have Latasha on. We started to have Keisha on a lot. Now we have Candace. We need to also build our deck with some male counselors out here, some African-American men who are out here in this counseling space, because J-Mac is right. Like, a lot of men suffer in silence. And while you're suffering in silence, you're killing yourself and you're killing relationships around you. So I want to thank all the people again for watching us tonight, commenting. I know mental health strikes a particular nerve, especially when you're talking about relationships. I want to thank Dr. Keith and Candace for their insight. For the people who don't know, I will joke around a little bit. Dr. Keith and Candace will be back very regularly, because we're going to do a part 2 to this soon when schedules allow, to talk about the spiritual part of the church and the hurt sometimes we feel there. And ain't nothing like getting hurt somebody in church. Boy, them folks, you sit in their pew, they ain't never going to forgive you. So we need to continue to have conversations like that. My new strategy, though, is to call Dr. Keith and Candace, maybe Tasha, and just leave short voicemails that, you know, I got a friend. What would you do in this situation? So I can get free counseling. You know, that's my new strategy moving forward. In
Hook up.
Might all be able to help you.
Non-billable hours. So again, want to thank everyone, and thank you, Nikita Jackson, for that name and tip to reach out. And congratulations on your new elected position. We are thankful for you and thankful for people who want to be in the political space. We need that in these times we're in. We don't need just anybody now. We need certain qualified people. We have saw with just having anybody in positions have gotten us, and that ain't nothing but a mental headache. With that, I want to say thank you for all the people that's watched us tonight, who joined us. Please find a Bible-based church or like-minded believers to fellowship with, to do your part to make your life better, someone else's life better, in earnest, right? That you're doing it without expecting anything back, that you want to come worship and make your own life, your own church, your own community better. And with that, let me say also thank you to Marlon, who put the show together. Excellent show. It was ran with high quality, great questions. So we appreciate it. J-Mac, again, thank you, sir, for being a Black male educator who are out here doing the daily battling. Man, that's a tough job you got, sir.
Yes.
And with that, we will say good night. Be blessed, everyone. And tell someone you love them.
Good night.
Night.